And what are your thoughts since now that you found out about it?
I guess it's kind of an example of what's going on.
You have to say Eddie? And then Steve, sorry, Eddie, Steve.
Well, I was going to say that I started finding out about Attica and George and Jonathan Jackson when I was first starting. I had just come up to Boston. It was 1971. I was 18 years old. And Attica had just happened. And I was fortunate enough to run into revolutionaries from Workers' World out on the street, selling a paper. Full disclosure, I was actually kind of harassing the person who was selling the paper in a nice way, because, you know, it sounded like, you know, I was, because I think it's important to tell where we're all coming from. Because you don't come into this room, into this movement as a revolutionary. You come in with the baggage that you had. And I know that the ruling class doesn't just rule by the gun. They don't rule just by the dollar. They rule by the idea.
Yes.
See, because when I was coming up, I wasn't told about even history. I'm a third-generation union person. But I didn't learn about unions in school.
That's right.
I didn't learn about Malcolm X in school. You know, regardless how you feel about Jonathan and George Jackson, I mean, Jonathan Jackson was your age. When this all happened, it swept up an entire movement, and now because of meetings like this, social media and other things, we can find out about things that are kept from us.
That's right.
Now, Maya raised a very important question, and that's the t-shirt she's talking about. It's on the wall over there, given many different colors. But that's Rosa Parks. And in Boston in 2005, we thought, we joined with a national movement. Dorothy was a big part of it, right up here. I got all the pictures from what we did. There should be a national holiday for a revolutionary black woman. There is no holiday in this country for a woman. No. 2016, there isn't a national holiday. And there was literally blood on the street to get a national holiday for Martin Luther King Jr. That didn't just happen. And it wasn't just Stevie Wonder's wonderful song. Well, actually, one of the last books that Gil Scott-Heron wrote, which is about that whole year of trying to push to get his great book about what happened during that struggle. And so, for all of us, it's a small amount of people in this room. And that's how things start, small. It starts with those who awaken to it and what needs to be done. So I remember finding out about George Jackson, and people should read his books. Soledad Brother, this is brilliant. You know, it always amazes me. You read the commentaries from Ami Abu-Jamal. This is a man on death row, inside prison, the max of the isolation that you can have, and it's one of the most informed commentators on politics on the planet. Now that's astounding. You know? So George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, they should be household words.
That's right.
And when Attica happened, when the story was being told, and Monica gave you some of it, but I remember when that was happening. When Rockefeller called in the National Guard and the prisoners had held the entire D yard, and these were young folks. L.D. Barkley was 19 years old.
From Rochester.
From Rochester. And the most eloquent of poets. That was their spokesman, the sound before the fury of the oppressed that is to come. And it was so much of a threat to the system that they brought in the National Guard and they put them all up on the turrets and they mowed down everybody.
It was live on TV.
Yes.
Mowed down not only the prisoners, but the guards, because when they found out, at first they were saying the guards had their throat slit. No, they didn't have their throat slit. It was the government that did it. You could talk about how militant 17-year-old Jonathan Jackson came in, put that noose around the judges, and I'm in charge now. You know, and he didn't shoot anybody.
Right.
Rochelle McGee didn't shoot anybody. Brother Christmas didn't shoot anybody. None of them shot anybody. They were massacred. And it didn't even matter to the system. They had a judge in that van. Didn't matter. They just filled that. It's a miracle that Rochelle McGee stepped out of their life. A miracle. And so I think for all of us, it tells us that we have had our history kept from us.
Absolutely.
And it's always been said, and it's true, of people who don't know their past have no future. And so, you know, when George was telling the stories, and she's told us a gang of stories, you know, I always said that gets George embarrassed, but we've all seen that iconic picture. A bloody Sunday in Selma, Alabama, on the Pettus Bridge. And if you go look at the picture, when you Google it, there's a 9-year-old little girl on that bridge. That was Miss Georgia. Okay? And her family was involved down there. And these are the stories that we have to share because the struggle does. Many things have not changed. I often talk with my daughter Hannah about this, whether we think it's just because of social media and cell phones and pictures. Is it that we see it a whole lot more because the police murders were always happening, or is it really being stepped up? And it's probably both. Because now you see Brother Philando Castillo and it's heartbreaking. That's a hard thing to work. His girlfriend brings out, and she's on Facebook Live. Please tell me he's not dying. And you watch that, and it's happening every day. You know, when we were in California, I'll land on this. When we were in California, I stayed with Brother Clarence Thomas and Dolores Thomas's house. And we were dealing with all these questions because the tour was not only about the union's struggle in beating Veolia, but it's a political union. It's a get the truck out, the Black Lives Matter union. It's be out on the street union. And we were there, and every morning we get up and talk a little bit before the day would start. And the morning, I remember this, when we got up, there was that incident where there's a brother, fortunately alive to tell the story. He was a behavioral therapist.
Oh yeah.
And he was laying down like this, yelling to the cops, "It's a toy truck, it's not a gun. Don't shoot anybody." I'm a behavioral therapist. Shot him right in the stomach.
Trying to help his patient.
Trying to help his patient. You know, and one of the things that Clarence said is people are talking about that they will kill all the oppressed people if Trump gets in. And Clarence said, what? They're doing that now. And so it does tell us that we need to build a movement, but it's got to be based on knowing. Those books that Maya was handing around, that's the truth. And we need to be able to share that so everybody does know these stories. Because, you know, you're not going to get it, even if you're at BLS and you're getting Facing History. You know, my daughter was in that and tries to talk about genocide. And unfortunately, it only talks about certain genocides. She tried to talk about the Palestinians, and this teacher didn't want to hear about that. It was Miss Freeman. I don't know if she's still around. But it was, is she still around? But it was Facing History, but only facing certain parts of history. Certain genocides you can talk about, certainly you can't. That's it. I think it's important for this movement to do that. We've got to share these stories, and not only, but they're weapons to get out in the street and do what needs to be done. Because the minute we found out about all the stuff, it was demonstrations out. It wasn't just talk about it. It's now get out in the street and do something about it. So.
There's a book going around that we're passing around, and then Eddie, I'm gonna get right to you, but I wanted folks to know that book is political prisoners writing their poetry, their essays, called Hauling Up the Morning. Powerful words, you know, because again, they may jail the revolutionary, but they can't jail the revolution. And it's just a testament. And so, as I said to people all around wherever we go, those need to be the bedtime stories that we read to our babies. You know, so that they know the name George Jackson, they know the name Assata Shakur, Leonard Peltier, Anna Mae Aquash, etc., etc. Because they're not going to get this. As Comrade Steve just said, you know, my own child, when she chose to write about the Rwandan genocide, they tried to shut her down, you know. But it's like when we're armed with information, because the capitalist system has no problem putting Che on a t-shirt, putting Assata on a t-shirt, putting all our people on t-shirts, right?
That's a problem.
but it's not about the t-shirt. What they fear is, do you know what that represents? So when we walk around with blood in my eye, they're like, oh. And I grew up as a Rastafarian, right? And this is the power of George Jackson. And Rob shared this with me about Steel Pulse, the reggae group, and the song they did for George Jackson, you know, when the massacre happened, you know. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention the other Soledad brother who was murdered last year, Hugo Pinnell. And Hugo was one of George's comrades, and he had been in
He's part of the
solitary.
San Quentin Six.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, San Quentin 6, yeah. But that was one of George's comrades. And then when you look at that and you see that he had been in solitary confinement, and they said the system feared him so much that within a day of being out of solitary confinement, he was murdered. So, I mean, it's like, but even as we talk about these various atrocities, right, I want us to know that we do believe in revolutionary optimism, right? Because we speak life, we teach life. And so we want to definitely elevate that as well in the room. And I